Hi everybody, here we are on the mat again, and we're going to work on balance, and this is the first of a two-part series on ways of improving your balance. The best way to improve your balance, of course, is just to move, walk, sit up and down, just move your body, best way. But what I'm going to offer you in the next couple of videos is just ways of strengthening the muscles, because you need to be strong, of course, to work on your balance. So we're going to do some simple movements like that. So this is the first one, part one, which will be followed with part two. So here we are. Today I'm going to work on balance. So we're going to do two separate little sessions working on your balance. Several things to just comment on before we start. We lose it as we age, partly because our balance depends on a combination of things: eyesight, hearing, strength in the muscles, stability of the body overall. But the one thing, even if your hearing isn't as good as it used to be and your eyesight isn't as good as it used to be, you can do so much for it, for your balance, and maintain close to perfect balance throughout your life as you age. And that thing is movement. Balance is based on movement. So if you don't move, then your balance is not going to work. For walking, if you feel unsteady walking, the more you walk, the better your balance becomes. So it's a simple equation. So we're going to begin with, some fairly simple things, ways of working on your balance. And as you can see, as usual, I'm sitting like this, but you may not be quite sitting like this. You may be sitting, with your legs stretched out, or a much looser kind of, you may be sitting up kind of like that. But the first thing I'm going to do, and this is basically all about balance, I'm going to bring my feet to the floor like that, and I'm going to take them a little wider apart so my feet are turned out about 45 degrees, and I'm just going to shift my weight forward and stand up. And I'm just going to sit down again and show you how you might help with that. So sitting back down again, crossing over your ankles. So the beauty of sitting on a bolster is that can boost your ability to stand up. So you can make little fists, push your fists into the bolster. Well, we won't do that first. We'll do this first. So feet out. And the secret to this is shifting your balance. So your balance comes forward. You cannot stand up from here with your the bulk of your body behind your feet, right? So you need to shift forward. To help you shift forward, you can push your fists into the bolster, and you can push yourself up. We'll do it one more time. Sitting all the way back down, pushing your fist into the bolster, shoving your weight forward, and standing up. So showing you that might be for some people an advanced pose. So I'm going to show you how you might build that right from the beginning. So every time you sit down, and I have a chair here beside me to show you. So every time you sit down, when you stand up, you can usually, if I were sitting like this and I wasn't thinking about what I was doing, I would usually put my fists or my hands to the sides of the chair and stand myself up. And that doesn't help with your balance. Okay, so what you might practice just to start with is just basically standing up. Just standing up. You can use your hands as well. And then in balance part two, I'm going to show you how you might stand up using one leg or the other leg. So working on single leg balance, which takes a lot more effort. So how do we create the strength in our bodies for balance? And we have to start with your feet. So we're going to do a little bit of work on your feet first. And we've done this, I've done this way back in one of the very early videos. So you come down on your knees. So I'll come this way first to show you. So my knees are usually hip width apart when I'm down like this. And if I turn sideways, you can see I'm going to tuck my toes under, and I have my socks on today. It's winter time still. So I'm sitting on my toes. So I'm stretching out the backs of my feet, because balance with poor foot control is not great. So I'm also working on my ankle flexibility. So I'm working on plantar and dorsiflexion. So sitting like this to start with If you find that the full weight of your body on your heels is way too much for you, then sort of lift up out of it, also good for balance, and then gradually sit yourself back. You can sit a little forward, and then the more you come back, the more weight you place on your feet. This is the beginning of this, so just put your fingers to the mat, and now you can sit in the opposite way, so stretching the front of your feet. So I'm just working on foot flexibility and foot mobility and strength. So this is strengthening and lengthening the front of your ankle joints. Then when you come back up again, tuck your toes under, and it's a good idea to just, particularly the little toe, to move it out. And then you're bearing your weight on your heels. And what we're working on here are the muscles at the back on the soles of your feet, your plantar fascia muscles. If you want to take this a little bit further as you grow in strength, place your fingers onto the mat, lift yourself up, and then you're on your toes. Now I'm not collapsed onto my heels this time, I'm standing on my toes. And you can increase that gradually, and then you'll come out of it and sit back down. Same. Again, stretch in the opposite direction. You can increase this one as well by lifting one knee up and then the other. So extra stretch here. And then you can lift both up together and find your length that way. I can drop back down and swing my legs around, and then I would always loosen out my ankles. You don't want them in any way sort of stressed from the stretching, which they may be if you're not used to it. So you could slip off the couch in the evening, any evening, and just do those tiny little exercises, and they're really going to help. They're going to help so much with what you're doing. And then, how do you get up? Right. So without the help of your bolster, I'll do it a simple way. So you can roll over onto one knee, place the other foot on the mat, and take yourself up. And that's also balance. So rather than coming up like I did at the beginning from cross-leg position, you can come up that way. The next thing I would do is with my feet hip width apart, I would maybe put my hands on my waist and come up onto my toes. If you find that that's really difficult, you can put your fingers to the wall if you're really concerned about your balance, and then you can just hold this position. So try not to let your ankles sway out. You can feel your calf muscles engage, and then drop down and take your toes up. And then do the same again, so take your heels up. They don't have to go too high, down and up. And another tip is to walk around on your tippy toes. So walk around just up on your tippy toes, walk around the kitchen on your tippy toes, and so that's going to strengthen here, going to strengthen your calf muscles, your Achilles tendons, and again strengthen the soles of your feet. Then added on to this, then we can come back to the seated, and gradually you can make this seated position lower down. So I'll show you that in 1 second. So this is a kind of normal. So if you can see, my hip and knees are in line. So that's probably the easiest one to get up from. And you can come up. Or if you wanted, I'll just push the daffs out of the way there for a second. You could do it from here. If you felt really like that you couldn't do anything at all, I would just take something much higher and lift myself up from there. I'd lift myself up from there. And then I'm just going to go out of shot for a second and bring my prop with me. Okay. So if you want to come up from something lower, now this is a little bit extreme probably in terms of lowering. So you could come from here and lift yourself up. So when you're actually, this really helps, because when you're going down, and I want to do it from this angle, when you're going down, the down part is just as good as the up part, so, which is the eccentric part of the pose. So rather than leading with my chest, rather than doing that, I'm taking my bottom back. So I'm leaning back with my bum, and then sitting down, and then pushing into my feet, to lift myself up. This is also quad strengthening. So repeated versions of that. Coming down, pushing into your feet and lifting yourself up. And then coming down. And one more time, pushing into your feet to lift yourself up. So they're all a series of variations on sitting to standing, which is important. And then I'll just move my prop a little bit out of the way there. Okay, so the next one then is single leg strength. So working on one leg. Always begin, if you're nervous about your ability to stand on one leg, you can place your fingers to the wall, stand on one leg and just lift the other one up. And then gradually I'm going to fall over now, gradually you can concentrate, lift that leg up and you can take your fingers away. And I just put my hands to my heart basically because I teach yoga and I do this a lot. And then slowly drop your foot down. And then on the other foot, you can do something similar. You can put your hands to your waist if that feels really good to you. And then you're just going to lift your leg up. So working on single leg strength, if you fall out of it like I did just there. So really ground down into the standing leg and lift your leg up. So it takes concentration as well, takes focus, so focus on one single thing. And then with control, lower your leg down. You would always begin this with your feet hip width apart because you want the joints stacked. So hip to knee to ankle should all be stacked. So again, to come back to that, you put your finger there. You can make this much more dynamic as well by simply taking one leg forward and the other leg back, the other leg back. And just having your hand to the wall will help you with this. You're strengthening the standing leg, you're getting used to being on one leg, and then you can turn around and do it on the other side. Another thing to work on, and we're going to work on this in part 2 of our balance sequence, you can stand on one leg and close your eyes. So the length of time that you can maintain your balance with your eyes closed is often a test that a fitness trainer would use, or maybe even your GP would use, about how your balance is working for you. Another version of that, and we'll do it in part 2 as well, is to stand on one leg and look over your right shoulder, back to the center, look over your left, back to the center, look over your right, and back to the center. And again, just to go back over what we were doing, sitting to standing is one of the great ways to work on your balance. So, going from something high, like the table, so that takes so much less effort. So you're sitting, so make sure you sit on something stable that's not going to roll away from you. And that's really simple, really not difficult at all. This one, so you're lower down. You have to shift your weight forward to do it. So you shift your weight forward as you lift up. Your body will know that. And if it doesn't know it, it'll learn it or relearn it fairly fast. So you're sitting down and then shifting forward. And you can use your hands with this one just for a counterbalance. And then to make it a little more difficult, you can come from something that's much lower down. So on this one, when you sit down, you're going to have to push yourself forward. And the most important thing that I'm doing with you today is the movement of how to get back down into it. So remember, you don't tilt your body forward. Maybe put your hands to your heart here like this, or your hands on your waist, and keep your back straight. So I like to put them here, and then I just initiate the move with my glute muscles. So it's my hips take me back, my hips take me back, my hips take me down. And then I'm going to push in and lift up. And then very soon you'll be able to do that from the floor or from your bolster like we did at the very beginning of this little session. So just to go over that, it's only just a little introduction basically to balance. The most important thing is movement. If you're very sedentary, if you sit around a lot, you know, you're too busy to do anything really active, you need to be moving every day. And just even your normal movements will help with your balance. So if you walk, if you stand up and sit down a lot, that's going to really help. So you don't have to be in the gym to work with your balance. You don't have to be, you know, marathon runner or any kind of runner or really, really active. You just need to be moving, because that's our bodies are made to move. And one of the most important things for movement is balance. But the two work together. If you move, your balance won't be bad. And if you need to improve it, what I'm doing today are just offering you little ways of improving your balance if you're worried about it. So these easy ones are probably the way to start, the way to go. And in the next class, we'll do slightly more advanced ones, maybe using a bit of weight, a lot of single leg strength, and how to you know, incorporate that into just when you're standing around the house or whatever, just into normal daily routine. You don't have to go to the gym to do any of this stuff. Okay, so that's part 1, and I'll see you back on the mat for part 2.